let's go ahead and pull the oil filter out. Howdy there! It is time to give the Farmall Cub a much needed oil change. But first, let's get into the proper attire. Alright, so that's better. Got my coveralls on to protect my clothing from oil and grease. So the first thing we're going to do is actually take the Cub out for a little bit of a drive, get it warmed up. That'll make the oil easier to drain, and then we'll bring it back into the shop here and really get going. Climb on board. Down to make sure the oil pressure is coming up. Hi girls. Like the mailbox, it's custom. I'm using the camera to back up. See, ultra modern technology on the Cub. It's got a backup camera. All right. We're back at the shop. Okay, I've added some nitrile gloves to my ensemble. I got a 5-gallon bucket placed under the oil pan here. One nice thing about the Cub being so high is that a 5-gallon bucket fits easily beneath the pan. So now I'm going to use my adjustable wrench to remove the drain plug and try not to lose the drain plug into the bucket. Or the copper washer that's on the drain plug. We don't want to lose that either. There we go, managed to save both. Also, right here, I'm not sure if you can see it, there's a drain for the oil filter housing. So we're going to go ahead and take that off too. Alright, we're just going to let that drain for a little while. Alright, you'll have to excuse my mess. I got about 9 million projects going on right now, give or take 1 or 2. But what I want to show you is how I keep track of what needs lubricated on the Farmall Cub. These are printouts that I copied out of the owner's manual and had laminated so I can keep them in the shop. I don't have to worry about getting oil on them because it can just be wiped off. But for supplies, it talks about engine crankcase, 3 quarts. So I went down to my local auto parts store and got some engine oil. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm using a multi-weight 10W30, and I know that debates can go on and on about what type of engine oil to use, but I will say that pretty much anything out there is probably better than what was on the market when the tractor was originally built, and so that's what I'm using. We'll also need an oil filter for our oil change. So I picked one of those up. The Napa number for the Farmall Cub oil filter is 1153. It is a canister type oil filter. It does only go in one way. And in the box there should also be a little rubber gasket for your filter housing cover. So we got that. I always keep some extra grease and other oils stocked here at the shop, so that's all I had to buy for this oil change. Once the oil has finished draining out of the crankcase, we'll go ahead and close that back up and add the new stuff. While the oil is continuing to drain out of the crankcase, we're going to be on the other side of the tractor here, and we're going to take apart the air filter and get the oil out of that. It is an oil bath type filter. So it's right up under here. A little spring clip that holds it in. And then a cup. Now be careful, because this cup is full of oil. You don't want to spill it. So that's the inside of the cup, and it's pretty nasty. So we're gonna go ahead and dump that, and then we'll wipe it out, clean off the inside of the cup, and add new oil to it. Yeah, some chunkies. Even though the crankcase only requires 3 quarts of oil, I always pick up a 4th quart because you'll need it for stuff like this. A little bit of sludge down there at the bottom. It's kind of gross. Much better. Alright, so now we're going to refill the cup. Got my oil here. Now you'll see there's like basically 2 chambers, an inner and an outer, but there are holes that go between the two, and pretty much you just fill it up until it equalizes, and it's pretty much on that embossed ring on the inside. Pretty much right about there. And now we'll put it back carefully, trying not to spill it. Slides up in there, and then there's that little wire retainer clip. Let's get you closer in on the action here. So this is the cup I just filled with oil. You can see there's this little wire retaining clip, and it just swings out of the way when you loosen it. Alright, next we're going to oil the generator. There's a couple little oil cups on there. Alright, see one's right there, and the other one is right there. 8 to 10 drops is all it takes. Alright, next we're going to oil the fan hub. And just by chance, the engine stopped with the screw in the right hand horizontal position. So you can see it there on the hub. It's a flathead. So what I'm going to do is remove that screw. We'll fill the hub with oil till that level, and then we're going to rotate the hub so the screw hole faces down to let the excess oil drain out. All the oil won't leave the hub, because on the inside of the hub there's actually like a little standpipe. So even when the hole is facing down, that standpipe extends up into the reservoir a little bit to allow some of the oil to remain, if that makes any sense. Alright, so there it is. It's actually got a little rubber grommet on it as well, so we don't want to lose that. This is kind of messy, so I have a cardboard box on the ground to catch the drips. And the ignition is off. We don't want the tractor to go anywhere, or start for that matter. We got to rotate that hole so it faces down. And then you can see the excess draining out. Like I said, it's messy. Alright, there's a few miscellaneous things I need to oil. There's a oil hole in the seat spring right there. Need to add a few drops. I also need to oil the pivots for all the pedals. So I'm going to go and do that real quick. Let's go ahead and pull the oil filter out. So I got a 3/4 inch wrench. loosen this bolt on the top. Alright, lift that out. Take the lid off and pull out the oil filter. So here's our new oil filter. I don't know if you can see on the ends here, they're a little bit different. This one's a little bit narrower on this end than over here. So it's this narrower end, it's got a little bit of a neck down, is what goes down into the housing. Take the old gasket off since we have a new one. I don't know if you need to oil the gasket or not, I do. Figure it doesn't hurt anything. Set our lid on top. On this bolt here, that secures everything together, you can see there's a little hole in the side right there. And then there's a hole at the bottom. And I usually just take a little piece of wire and make sure those are clear. On the upper end here, you'll see it has a copper washer as well. So we'll take our bolt, go through the lid, all the way through our oil filter. Make sure our gasket's in there. Set in there, line it up. Start threading it in. I reckon you'd want to be careful not to over tighten this bolt because you could deform the lid that covers the cartridge. And that's probably good. Like I said, I don't want to over tighten it. The crankcase is drained. So let's go ahead, well, we got you here. We're going to put this cap back on that drains the oil filter housing. I don't ever want this thing vibrating loose, so I just give it a few taps. And then our drain plug with copper washer. Oops, almost dropped it into the bucket there. That would have been a fishing trip that I did not want to go on. That should be tight enough. Now let's fill up the oil. That happens on the other side. The dipstick is also the filler hole, so we'll go ahead and remove that. Seems a little low. Start pouring in our oil. Sure if you can see that, but it is right at the full mark. Okay, the oil's been changed. We hit up a few other items that require oil. Now I'm going to go around the tractor with the grease gun and grease all the zerks. And so we're going to head around and grease some stuff up. Alright, now I get to go around and wipe down everything that oozed out. Let's start it up and make sure that we got oil pressure. Alright, we'll shake hands with the gear shifter, make sure that it is still out of gear. Pull out our ignition, brake is set, pull out our starter. There it comes. I don't know if you can see the needle coming up. Well, hey, thanks for joining me as I changed the oil and did some other lubrication on my Farmall Cub. Now, there are a few things that I did not do today. One is change the oil in the transmission. 2, change the oil in the steering gearbox. 3, check the oil and change it in the final drives. And 4, do the front wheel bearings. I'll show you where those are at, but they weren't quite due on the Cub, so I didn't bother. I did check though. So this is the steering gearbox. It's got 3 plugs. So this bottom one is the drain. This middle one is the level check, so the oil in there should be up to that level. And then this top one is the fill. Alright, going over to the transmission. This is the filler right here. I am on the left side of the tractor. See that plug right there? That is the level check for the transmission. It's very convenient to get to. And then the drain is up under there, right there. These are the pans for the final drives. There's 2 of them. They're not connected in any way, so they do have to be serviced separately. There is no drain. Basically, to drain the oil, you have to take the pans off, and it's pretty messy. And the fill / level check plugs are conveniently located behind some of my fast hitch hardware, so you can't see it. Otherwise, on the front wheels, it's got just hubcaps there you can unscrew and get a look at the bearings. And then otherwise, they're typical grease bearings. You gotta pack them. And these are good. I already pulled the hubcaps off and looked. Thanks for joining me today in the shop on the Tomarosa. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. And we always appreciate your comments. Thanks for watching.